Why this ancient book still matters. Today we explore one of the most mysterious and influential texts in the spiritual history of the world. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, known in Tibetan as Bardo Thodol, its title can be translated literally as the book that liberates you at the moment of death. Not merely a religious scripture, not simply a mythic story, but a guide written to help consciousness navigate what happens between the last breath and whatever comes next. For modern audiences, especially here in the United States, where conversations about death often remain uncomfortable or avoided, this book offers something extraordinary: a psychological map, a spiritual roadmap, and a philosophical meditation all in one. What is the Bardo Thodol? The Bardo Thodol is considered one of the most profound teachings of Tibetan Buddhism. It describes what consciousness experiences during the transition between life and death, a realm known as the Bardo, or the intermediate state. In Tibetan understanding, life is not a single straight narrative from birth to death. Instead, it is a continuous process of transitions, and death is simply the most dramatic of those transitions, a gateway, not a wall. The text explains three bardos, or three phases of the intermediate world, and it is believed that every person, regardless of nationality, belief system, or religion, passes through these same states. The first Bardo, Chikai Bardo, the Bardo of the moment of death. The first stage is called Chikai Bardo, often translated as the Bardo of the moment of death. This is the moment when the physical body shuts down, the senses collapse, and consciousness separates from the material form. Tibetan masters describe this moment with astonishing precision. According to the text, every being, no matter how ordinary or extraordinary, encounters, even for the briefest instant, a state called the pure clear light, the radiant nature of mind, the true essence of one's being. In other words, at the moment of death, every human being meets the ultimate truth of their own nature, not as an idea but as a direct experience. This clear light is not something outside of us. It is not a deity or a supernatural force. It is the very foundation of our consciousness, the pure, luminous awareness that existed before thought, before fear, before identity. The teaching says, if in that moment you recognize the clear light as your true identity, you achieve immediate liberation. Liberation here does not mean escape into nothingness. It means freedom from fear, freedom from confusion, and freedom from the endless cycles of rebirth driven by unconscious habits. If you are intrigued by the mysteries of consciousness and want to explore the profound wisdom of Tibetan teachings, subscribe now and join us on this journey where ancient insight meets modern understanding. Why most people do not recognize the clear light. Although the clear light is the truth of our own being, the text teaches that most souls fail to recognize it. Why? Because the moment of death magnifies our deepest habits, our fears, our attachments, our confusion, and the instinctive terror of losing the self we have known all our lives. This moment is not frightening because death is painful, but because the ego feels itself dissolving. In psychological terms, it is the fear of total surrender, the fear that everything we ever believed we were, our name, history, identity, achievements, memories, is about to disappear. This fear causes consciousness to recoil, to turn away from the clear light, and to fall into lower, more turbulent states of the Bardo, a key to understanding fearlessness. The four fearlessnesses. Here the ancient Tibetan text reveals a powerful interpretive key, the concept of the four fearlessnesses. Sanskrit Katurvaisharadya Korean Samoe. In Buddhist philosophy, these are the four forms of fearlessness, attained by awakened beings, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They represent the highest freedom of the mind. The four fearlessnesses are: 1. The fearlessness of knowing all phenomena. The awakened one understands the true nature of reality without confusion. Nothing in existence is threatening when you understand it at its root. 2. The fearlessness of teaching truth without error. One speaks truth without hesitation, without distortion, and without fear of misunderstanding. 3. The fearlessness of certainty in one's own realization. A Buddha never doubts his own awakening. There is no internal anxiety, no spiritual insecurity. 4. The fearlessness of guiding beings according to their needs. The awakened one knows the mind of every being and can offer the teaching that each person needs most. If you are fascinated by the mind and want to explore how ancient wisdom meets modern psychology, subscribe now and join us as we continue this journey, uncovering the keys to fearlessness, awareness, and the clear light. These are not supernatural powers. They are states of absolute psychological clarity. And this leads to the crucial point. Only those who have trained their minds in fearlessness during life can face the clear light without fear in death. This is the heart of the teaching. What the first Bardo reveals about life. The Bardo Thodol is not trying to frighten us, and it is not describing a supernatural judgment. Rather, it is saying something profoundly human. The way we live determines the way we meet death. If we spend our entire lives running from discomfort, avoiding truth, resisting change, clinging to identity, and fearing surrender, then at the moment of death, our mind does exactly the same thing. But if in life we cultivate clarity, courage, compassion, and the ability to look directly at our own mind, then death becomes not a collapse, but a revelation. It becomes the moment we finally see what has always been inside us. The central message of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The message of the text can be summarized as follows. Liberation at the moment of death is not an accident. It is the result of a lifetime of cultivating fearlessness, insight, and awareness. The clear light is always present in meditation, in stillness, in moments of awe or deep peace, but we overlook it because we are distracted, anxious, or preoccupied. Thus, the book emphasizes, to recognize truth at the moment of death, you must practice recognizing truth during life. Only those who have trained their minds to face reality without fear, those who have developed the wisdom of the four fearlessnesses, can look directly at the clear light and recognize it as their own true nature. In this sense, the Tibetan Book of the Dead is not merely a book about death. It is a book about living a courageous and conscious life. If you want to explore how ancient wisdom meets modern psychology and learn how fearlessness in life leads to clarity in death, subscribe now and join our journey through the Bardos, discovering the keys to courage, awareness, and the clear light. A message for modern America, for American audiences, especially those navigating a fast-paced, anxious, achievement-driven culture. This teaching carries a special relevance. We spend so much energy crafting identities, our careers, our reputations, our ambitions, our digital selves. We fear losing control. We fear uncertainty. We fear silence. But the clear light requires us to let go, not as an act of defeat, but as an act of awakening. This text invites us to practice something profoundly countercultural. The art of meeting reality without fear. If we can learn that skill now, death becomes simply one more transition, not a tragedy. Friends, if these ideas about consciousness, death, and the deeper nature of mind speak to something inside you, I invite you to stay with this series. In the coming episodes, we will explore the remaining stages of the Bardo, the psychology of rebirth, and the profound connection between ancient Tibetan wisdom and modern near-death experience research. If you would like to continue this journey with me, to understand the mysteries beyond the final breath, and to discover what these teachings mean for how we live today, please consider subscribing. Your support helps this channel grow, and together we can explore these remarkable teachings with depth, clarity, and compassion, entering the second stage of the after-death journey. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, a text that has shaped not only Buddhist spirituality, but also Western psychology, the second stage of the post-mortem journey is called the Chonyi Bardo. Tibetan Chonyit Bardo, Chinese, Korean Shenshang Jong-in, the Bardo of appearances. This stage unfolds in the 49 days after death, a period during which consciousness has fully separated from the physical body, but has not yet entered its next form or next life. During this time, the soul encounters visions, peaceful deities, wrathful deities, strange landscapes, celestial light, terrifying shadows, overwhelming sensory experiences. These visions can be beautiful or horrifying, comforting or confusing, but the text makes one truth absolutely clear. None of these beings exist outside of you. Everything you see is a projection of your own mind. This is the radical and transformative teaching of the Chonyi Bardo. The heart of the teaching. Mind-created visions are not real. Recognizing this truth allows consciousness to remain free, even in the face of overwhelming fear or desire, and points directly to the practice of clarity and awareness during life. Mind-created visions are not real. There is a famous line in the text, 心之所现，幻影非真. What appears is born of your own consciousness. The visions are illusions, not real. This single sentence condenses the entire philosophy of Yogacara, the Buddhist mind-only school, which has influenced thinkers from Tibet to China to modern psychologists like Carl Jung. According to Yogacara, every sight, every sound, every feeling we experience, both in life and after death, does not arise from an external world that is fixed, solid, and independent. Instead, our consciousness creates the images and then mistakes those images for reality. The world is not a neutral object out there. It is a mirror, a vast reflective field where our fears, desires, memories, and karmic patterns project themselves outward. In daily life, we experience this when someone's neutral expression feels hostile. A small conflict becomes a personal attack. A partner's silence becomes rejection. A small success feels like salvation. Our anxiety paints the world in darker colors than it truly has. In the same way, the visions of the Chonyi Bardo, whether they appear as dazzling heavenly light or terrifying wrathful deities, are interpretations, not objective realities. They are the mind's own drawings, reflected back to the soul in a magnified form. The wrathful deities and peaceful deities. What do they represent? The text describes that during the Chonyi Bardo, the soul encounters two categories of beings, wrathful deities and peaceful deities. Wrathful deities are terrifying manifestations born from the karmic projections of anger, pride, and attachment. Peaceful deities represent the projections of wisdom, compassion, and past virtues. But here is the crucial teaching. Neither is real in the sense of existing independently. They are mirrors of the mind, each one reflecting the soul's deepest tendencies, fears, and desires. Understanding this principle, mind-created visions are not real, is the key to fearlessness in the Chonyi Bardo. It teaches that liberation is possible, even amid overwhelming experiences. If these ideas resonate, if you want to learn how to face your mind without fear and explore the profound connection between consciousness, karmic patterns, and liberation, subscribe now and continue this journey into the stages of the Bardo. Together we can navigate life, death, and the mind with insight, clarity, and compassion. Yun, peaceful deities, Jijingzun, peaceful deities, represent clarity, compassion, balance, and higher aspiration. They are the symbolic embodiments of love, patience, inner wisdom, and all the qualities we cultivated through kindness and self-awareness. These beings are not external gods. They are reflections of what we developed in life, our virtues, our conscious effort, our capacity for awakening. Ether, wrathful deities, Fanyuzun, wrathful deities, represent suppressed fear, unresolved anger, guilt, shame, and the darker patterns we denied or repressed during life. To the untrained mind, these wrathful deities appear terrifying, with grotesque faces, flames, unsettling sounds, and overwhelming force. But Tibetan masters insist, all of it is you. None of it comes from outside. Your unresolved fear becomes a demon. Your attachment becomes a tempting illusion. Your jealousy becomes a grasping hand. Your pride becomes a towering figure demanding submission. Your compassion becomes a radiant deity offering guidance. In this stage, Yashuri Yerewaram, you are not being judged. You are witnessing your own mind. Why the Bardo shows you your own mind. This stage of the journey operates on a profound principle. Your mind becomes your world. In life, your thoughts shape your experience, but the physical world softens the effect. Social interactions, physical bodies, routines, and responsibilities. act as buffers or stabilizers. But in the Chonyi Bardo after death, there is no buffer. Wadi Yurdi Wantonasan. No body, no world, no world, only consciousness reflecting itself. This is why the visions are so vivid and overwhelming. The text says that the Chonyi Bardo amplifies 5 internal forces. 1. Fear. 2. Desire. 3. Frustration. 3. Confusion. 4. Inner 4. Memory of wrongdoing. 5. Unresolved emotional karma. None of these forces are moral judgments. They are psychological imprints, patterns of perception formed over a lifetime. The more unconscious they were during life, the more powerful they become after death. Why most souls mistake the visions as real? Because the visions are so intense. Most souls assume they are encountering external beings. Angels, demons, punishers, judges, monsters, saviors. This misunderstanding causes 2 dangerous reactions. 1. Fear. If the soul believes the wrathful visions are real, it panics and tries to flee. This panic pushes consciousness toward lower, darker states, and ultimately toward an unenlightened rebirth. 2. Desire. If the soul believes the beautiful visions are real, it clings to them with longing. This attachment creates a gravitational pull that drags the soul into another cycle of rebirth, based on desire, not clarity. Thus, fear creates descent. Desire creates rebirth. Clarity creates liberation. The Bardo is not punishing you. It is showing you your own mind, and then asking, do you recognize what you see? The key to liberation, recognizing that the visions are illusions. The great secret of the Chonyi Bardo is expressed in the line, 心是所现幻影非真. Everything you see is an illusion of your own consciousness. If the soul can remember this teaching, if it can simply recall that, these are my own projections, then 3 things happen immediately. 1. Fear dissolves, because nothing external is threatening you. 2. Desire dissolves, because nothing external can save you. 3. Clarity emerges, because you recognize the visions as dreams. When this recognition dawns, consciousness naturally returns to the clear light, the same pure awareness encountered in the first Bardo. At that moment, liberation becomes possible. What this means for life before death. This teaching is not only about the afterlife, it is an instruction manual for the living. If after death, the world we experience is nothing but the magnified reflection of our mind, then in life, the emotional struggles we endure are also reflections of our mind. Our anger shapes our world. Our fear colors our relationships. Our trauma projects shadows onto neutral events. Our longing distorts what we see as happiness. Our insecurity exaggerates other people's opinions. Our unexamined desires lead us into unnecessary suffering. Thus, the Chonyi Bardo is teaching us, if you want peace after death, cultivate clarity in life. If you want to recognize illusions after death, learn to recognize illusions during life. If you want liberation after death, train your mind now. If these teachings on mind, consciousness, and liberation resonate with you, and you want to explore how to live with awareness and courage, subscribe now and continue the journey through the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Together we will learn to face life, death, and the mind with clarity, insight, and freedom. The practical meaning of the Chonyi Bardo. The text ultimately offers this profound message. The deities you meet after death are not external beings. They are shadows of your own mind. Do not fear them. Recognize them as you. This is the essence of Simsik Sohyun Hwanyang Bijin. All visions are projections of the mind, none are real. If even death's terrors are illusions of the mind, then the pains and fears of daily life are also illusions. Misunderstandings born from confusion, habit, and perception. When we fully understand this, a deep peace becomes possible, a peace that transcends both life and death. Friends, if this exploration of the Chonyi Bardo speaks to you, if you are curious about consciousness, spiritual psychology, the after-death journey, and the ancient wisdom that bridges East and West, I invite you to stay with this series. We will continue to explore the remaining stages of the Bardo, how the mind constructs reality, how liberation becomes possible in life, and what these teachings mean for our modern world. If you would like to journey deeper into these teachings together, please consider subscribing. Your support helps this channel grow, and it allows us to bring more thoughtful, quiet, and meaningful wisdom to a noisy world. Thank you for being here, and may clarity guide your path in life, in death, and beyond. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, the third stage. Sidpa Bardo and the Moral Physics of Rebirth. Dear friends, before we begin, if you enjoy deep explorations of wisdom traditions, spirituality, and moral psychology, please consider subscribing to this channel. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful long-form content, like today's lecture on the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Today, we turn to the third and final stage of the Bardo journey, a stage that reveals one of the most profound moral frameworks in world philosophy, the connection between your actions and your next existence. This stage is known as Sidpa Bardo, the Bardo of becoming. It is the threshold between death and rebirth, the decisive moment where consciousness, stripped of the body, moves toward its next destination. 1. What is the Sidpa Bardo, the threshold of rebirth? In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Sidpa Bardo is the moment when the soul, having passed through the luminous clarity of the first Bardo and the visionary projections of the second Bardo, finally confronts the one force that no one can escape: one's own karma, the moral weight of one's own life. Nothing external determines the next world you enter. Not divine punishment, not supernatural judges, not angels, demons, or external saviors. Sidpa Bardo karma in the six realms. Only one thing decides. Only one thing decides. Your actions become your next world. This principle is summarized in a classical Tibetan Buddhist phrase: Evil actions lead to the three lower realms. Good actions open the path to the three higher realms. In other words, your future existence is shaped by the ethical architecture of your present life. This is not merely religion. It is a form of moral physics, a universal law of cause and effect applied to consciousness. 2. The three lower realms where harmful actions lead. When harmful actions outweigh wholesome ones, the consciousness gravitates downward. The text describes three realms known as the three unfortunate destinies. These are not punishments. They are psychological environments shaped by the internal states we cultivated in life. Let's walk through them. 1. The hell realm, the world of torment. In this realm, beings experience intense suffering, mirroring the violence, hatred, or cruelty they inflicted upon others. From a modern psychological perspective, hell is the externalization of a mind consumed by aggression, malice, or rage. It is a world built out of the emotional patterns we refuse to resolve in life. 2. The hungry ghost realm, the world of endless craving. This realm symbolizes insatiable desire, where beings have enormous stomachs but needle-sized throats, forever craving, never satisfied. To an American audience familiar with concepts like addiction, consumerism, and compulsive desire, this realm resonates deeply. It is the embodiment of attachment gone unchecked, a life driven by wanting, grasping, and never finding enough. CERN, the animal realm, the world of ignorance and instinct. This is a realm dominated by fear, confusion, and survival instincts. It represents a consciousness trapped in ignorance, living reactively without insight or moral awareness. This realm reflects lives dominated by avoidance, denial, or willful ignorance. 3. The three higher realms where virtuous actions lead. When kindness, restraint, generosity, and clarity dominate one's life, consciousness rises toward the three auspicious destinies. Again, these are not rewards granted by a god. They are psychological habitats shaped by the quality of one's inner life. West of the heavenly realm, Tianshang, the world of bliss and merit, a realm of joy, abundance, and ease, the fruit of generosity, compassion, and moral courage. From a modern angle, it represents the consciousness of a person who cultivated emotional maturity, selfless actions, and mental clarity in life. Sidpa Bardo, human and asura realms. 2. The human realm, the world of balance and moral opportunity. In Buddhist thought, the human realm is unique. It contains suffering and joy in balanced measure, making it the most favorable realm for spiritual growth. For Americans familiar with the value of second chances, the human realm embodies the opportunity-rich nature of being human. The chance to learn, fail, rise again, and refine one's character. CERN, the Asura realm, a Sholoda, the word of struggle and competition. This realm is filled with powerful beings, driven by jealousy, rivalry, and pride. It is a world of constant conflict. Modern parallels include the mindset of hypercompetition, ego-driven conflict, or relentless comparison. These beings have virtues, but also uncontrolled ambition. Thus, they occupy a middle position, higher than the lower realms, yet still trapped by turmoil. 4. The core message: you draw the map of your own rebirth. The Tibetan Book of the Dead makes something radically clear. There is no external judge. There is no divine courtroom. There is only the moral momentum of your own mind. In the Siddha Bardo, your own tendencies, fears, attachments, and virtues take form as worlds you are pulled toward. It tells us, your karma is your guide. Your deeds are your compass. And you walk the path you have drawn. This perspective resonates strongly with American notions of personal responsibility, self-authorship, and ethics as destiny. You are not punished. You are not rewarded. You simply become what you practice becoming. 5. Why this teaching matters for the living. Whether you believe in literal rebirth or interpret these realms metaphorically, the message is powerful. The quality of your inner life creates the world you will inhabit. People who cultivate anger already live in a kind of inner hell. Those consumed by greed experience the psychology of hungry ghosts. Those trapped in ignorance experience the limitations of the animal realm. Meanwhile, compassion elevates, wisdom clarifies, integrity strengthens. In this sense, rebirth is happening moment by moment, not only at the end of life. This third bardo is a mirror, reflecting not what waits after death, but what we are becoming right now. If today's exploration of the Tibetan Book of the Dead made you reflect on your own life, your habits, or your patterns of mind, I invite you to join this channel and continue this journey with us. Please subscribe, and let's keep exploring the wisdom traditions that continue to shape our understanding of life, death, and the moral universe we live in. Thank you for listening. May your actions become the seeds of a brighter world, both in this life and the next. The moral awakening of the Siddha Bardo. Before we begin, if you appreciate long-form explorations of philosophy, psychology, and spiritual traditions, please consider subscribing. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful and in-depth lectures like today's session. Today's teaching comes from the final message of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, found in its third stage, the Siddha Bardo, the bardo of becoming the threshold between this life and the next. But more importantly, it is a powerful teaching for the living. 1. The present moment as the seed of the next life. The wisdom of the Siddha Bardo is not merely about what happens after death. It is a profound ethical reminder built on one central truth. The present moment is the seed of your next life. Rebirth does not begin only after the body dies. According to this teaching, rebirth is happening right now. Every time your mind takes on a new intention, every time your actions carve a new pattern into your consciousness, each thought, each impulse, each decision is already shaping the kind of world you will step into next. This message resonates strongly with American audiences, familiar with ideas like, you become what you practice, habits shape destiny, your character builds your future. The Siddha Bardo simply extends this moral logic beyond a single lifetime. 2. How thoughts open doors to worlds. The text explains that the quality of our thoughts does not merely influence mood. It literally determines which world our consciousness gravitates toward. It uses 3 symbolic doorways to illustrate this. Malice opens the door to the hell realms. A mind filled with hatred already lives in a kind of internal hell. Even in this life, anger burns from the inside out. Buddhist cosmology simply externalizes this inner state into a symbolic realm. Greed expands the hunger of the hungry ghosts. Anyone who has struggled with addiction, chronic dissatisfaction, or the endless chase for more knows this realm intimately. Craving creates its own suffering. Long before death, wisdom and compassion open the doors of the human and heavenly realms. Clarity and kindness uplift consciousness. They create ease, connection, and mental spaciousness, qualities reflected in the higher realms described in the text. The Tibetan Book of the Dead summarizes this teaching in one line. Rebirth is not a far-off event. Each moment of mind is already shaping the path. This is not fatalistic. It is empowering. It means that you can redirect the course of your destiny right now, not by waiting for divine intervention, but by cultivating the qualities of mind you wish to carry forward. 3. The final teaching: your thoughts become your future world. The text brings its final wisdom to a sharp conclusion. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions are the path to your next life. No one else opens the gates to the realms for you. Not gods, not angels, not judges, not even karma as an external force. The key is within you. It continues. Hell, humanity, and heaven. The door you enter depends on your own mind. For an American audience, this mirrors a deeply held belief. Freedom and responsibility always go together. You are the architect of your character, and character becomes destiny. This is why the Sidpa Bardo is considered not a doctrine of fear, but a doctrine of self-governance, self-awareness, and self-liberation. 4. The education of death and why it teaches us how to live. The final chapters of the Tibetan Book of the Dead insist that the text is not only for the dying, it is above all a curriculum for the living. The teaching is simple. Only those who understand death can truly understand life. Why? Because death strips away all illusions, possessions, titles, ego, competing narratives, self-deception, the stories we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility. In that moment of clarity, one sees what genuinely matters and what does not. Thus, the book is not a manual for the dead. It is a guidebook for anyone who wishes to live with intention, integrity, and awareness. 5. Recognizing the innate light, the path to liberation. At the heart of the teaching lies the recognition of the innate luminosity, the pure awareness known as clear light, or kwangmyong in Korean. This luminosity is not something we gain after death. It is already within us, beneath layers of fear, desire, and confusion. To recognize this inner radiance is to recognize that consciousness itself is free and always was. This recognition becomes the gateway to liberation, which the text describes as freedom from rebirth, freedom from confusion, freedom from fear, freedom from the compulsions of karma. This is liberation not as an escape, but as an awakening. 6. A bridge between science and spirituality. When the Tibetan Book of the Dead was introduced to the West in the early 20th century, it captivated thinkers, psychologists, and scholars, including Carl Jung, who believed the Bardo teachings revealed deep truths about the unconscious mind, the archetypes of death, and the psychology of transformation. Today, the text continues to influence near-death experience research, clinical studies on the dying process, death awareness meditation, and the growing field of contemplative neuroscience. The book sits at the crossroads of theology, cognitive science, and philosophy, one of the rare texts where these disciplines meet. With surprising harmony, 7. What we will explore next. In this lecture series, we will continue examining the stages of the Bardo, the Buddhist understanding of karma and rebirth, the psychology of death, and the philosophy of freedom that emerges when we confront mortality directly. If you seek deeper meaning in life or wish to explore what may lie beyond death, I invite you to continue this journey with us. Friends, thank you for joining today's exploration of the Sidpa Bardo and the moral awakening it invites. If this journey inspired reflection or clarity, please subscribe and let us continue walking this path together. In our next session, we will begin with the first Bardo, the moment of death, and the encounter with the clear light. Until then, thank you for listening, and may the light within you guide your steps.